So the first one she talks about here is materialism, and she's going to pick on a couple of scientists and philosophers. The name of this section is Crick, nothing but a pack of neurons,
Yep.
right? So that's a reference to Francis Crick. He's known for cracking the DNA code, right? So she says, in recent years, a radically reductionist version of materialism has been advanced called eliminative materialism. Right? It goes beyond the traditional materialist claim that material conditions determine the mental world to the more surprising claim, she tells us, that the mental world, notice, does not exist. So, all of our thoughts, convictions, desires, intentions, perceptions, decisions are just fictions.
Whew,
right?
good. Man, I was getting worried there. That's some of them were bad. So.
Yeah. Well, good. So you don't have to worry about them because they're illusions, right? Good. They're illusions. They're produced by the underlying brain chemistry. That's all that's going on, with no causal impact of our life. They're like foam whipped up by the sea or sparks created by a machine.
Right. So it's not that your brain doesn't exist. It's who you are, your personality. How you've developed yourself, kind of, you might call it the kind of the mental capacity of you. Is just neurons firing off. It's these flashes of lightning. You're only a product of what you remember from your memories, and that's it. Nothing else. You are just a pack of brain goo.
Yeah. So it's just the physical stuff, all the non-physical stuff, our thoughts and convictions, beliefs and desires. They're just illusions, right? So she quotes Nicholas Humphrey here. She says, he said, our starting assumptions as scientists ought to be that on some level, consciousness has to be an illusion. Right? The reason is obvious.
Has to be.
Yeah. If nothing in the physical world can have the features of that consciousness seems to have, then consciousness cannot exist as a thing in the physical world. Yeah. Boom. So we just cut off consciousness, right?
Can we just raise the red flag here of presuppositions involved in this statement? If nothing in the physical world can have the features that consciousness seem to have, then consciousness cannot exist in the physical world. Wow. Oh, okay. Good. That was easy.
Yeah, so it's an illusion, right? So notice she says, then how is Humphreys conscious of that fact?
Yeah.
Right? And why should we trust the thinking of scientists who tell us that there's no such thing as thinking?
Right.
As one philosopher notes, eliminative materialism refutes itself, since even an illusion is the presence of an experience within someone's consciousness.
A little bit of Descartes maybe swimming around in there.
Yeah. Right. She quotes Francis Crick with regard to this as well. Right. He writes, "You, your joys, your sorrows, your memories, and your ambitions." Your sense of identity and free will are, in fact, no more, there's the reduction, right, than the behavior of a vast assembly of nerve cells and their associated molecules. So playing off a line in Alice in Wonderland, he concludes, you're nothing but a pack of neurons.
Francis Crick is going to be hired by Hallmark to write the next Valentine's Christmas Christmas cards.
That's right. Nothing but a pack of neurons. She quotes Daniel Wigner of Harvard. Right? He argues that free will is an illusion and that all our actions are really the effects of unconscious physical causes. So it's physical causes that are controlling all of our actions, which means we don't have, we're not able to make choices freely. Which is kind of interesting. So in an interview, he says this, even though you know it's a trick, right? And here's the problem that you have when you start doing these things, right? In other words, what do you do with then all of these thoughts and desires and the illusion of free will, right? I mean, what do you do with it, right? He says in an interview, he admits that free will is a very persistent illusion, right? It keeps coming back. Yet he treats it as nothing more than a magician's trick, right? Even though you know it's a trick, he says, you get fooled every time. The feelings just don't go away. You might think that when a theory is contradicted by persistent experience, she tells us, that just don't go away. The persistent should count as evidence against the theory, is what she tells us, right? And so she says we're going to look at this later on in Principle 3, but wow.
Yeah. So we have this box of materialism. All that there is the material world, nature. That's it. Nothing more. And so you put that in the box. You put humanity in the box. All we are is a bag of meat and some electricity firing off every once in a while, and then it stops, and that's it. Oh, but except out of this box comes all your free will and all the things that make you you. And so all that is what he's trying to do is what we call cut it off.
Yeah.
What he's cutting off is all that and saying snip. It's just an illusion.
Right.
And so you have this this kind of prevailing sense of self and mind and will and ability to go against your own nature, and not even like a big change. Like I always get vanilla ice cream on a Monday, but today's a Monday. I'm going for chocolate because I am breaking out of my shell for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So all that is just an illusion.
That's right.
And so none
it's
of
just
that.
neurons firing.
In order to fit it in the box, we have to snip out all these things that we see. And again, the scientists are always trying to, or I should say, atheistic scientists tend to always want to point to Christians saying, "Oh, you're just refusing to see what the truth of whatever it might be because you have this underlying fact of God." Well, here's their underlying fact in materialism, and so what they're doing is they're seeing a consistent piece of the puzzle that they don't want to put on the board.
Right. Yeah. It's a true